The PlayStation Portal is solely built to give you access to your PlayStation 5 over remote play. And yes, there are plenty of devices that already do this, as well as give you access to a whole host of other gaming services. But let's say you're a busy parent like me, and all you want to do is play your PlayStation 5 while somebody else is using the TV. Is the PS Portal going to be the best experience possible? Let's find out. I've used remote play on a number of devices, and although it's always worked decently, I never felt like it worked well enough for Sony to pin an entire device on it. A lot of people were hoping that Sony would bring out a dedicated handheld to continue the legacy of the PSP and the PS Vita, so to just get an extension of your PS5, it also seemed like a bit of a strange decision. The most egregious omission in many people's eyes though was the decision to restrict the audio output to Sony's new Link technology, which means that you can't use Bluetooth headphones with the PS Portal. There is a headphone jack in the rear of the device, and from looking through Reddit, I've seen that a lot of people have managed to use a USB dongle to connect to their AirPods, but it does feel like quite a cynical decision on Sony's part, and we see how they're really trying to build this ecosystem around the PlayStation 5 that kind of locks you out of using other manufacturers' goods. From the moment I picked up the box though, I put those caveats to one side and decided to go into this with an open mind. And opening up that box, I really did feel this sense of excitement that this was a brand new piece of PlayStation hardware. You can tell that it is a really premium and well-crafted product. Sony have slapped an 8-inch LCD monitor right in the middle of a DualSense controller, and it's a bit like Frankenstein's monster at first, but when you're actually holding it in your hands, you realise how much more comfortable this is than a traditional handheld like a Switch or a Steam Deck. It's a little bit lighter than something like a Steam Deck as well, so you can hold it in bed much more comfortably, and the fact that the controller does actually protrude from the LCD itself, it means that you can even hold it in one hand if you need to pick something up while you are playing it. Super practical for parents. The device itself isn't actually as wide as I thought it looked on other people's videos, and I feel like it's actually quite a decent distance between your hands, so you're not putting too much strain on your shoulders when playing at kind of a tighter angle for a long period of time. And at the end of the day, this really is just a DualSense controller, so you have all those amazing haptic and rumble features, as well as a huge LCD display that you can use anywhere around the house. Apart from the analog sticks, which seem a little reduced compared to the main DualSense, all of the other buttons are pretty much exactly the same from what I can tell, and that's going to really help with consistency when going from one kind of controller to the other. But let's talk about that display because it really is the hero of the PS Portal. At 8 inches, it's just a little bit larger than my Steam Deck, but it gets a hell of a lot brighter. It runs in 1080p compared to other systems which are locked at 720p, and it's incredibly vibrant. It does only run up to 60Hz, which is definitely a consideration, but the colours on this look really beautiful. Everything is crisp, and I'm so impressed by the quality of these games considering it's just running through remote play. Another thing I'm really happy about is that the screen itself seems very resistant to fingerprints, which is important because the touch controls on the PlayStation 5 will be accessed through tapping on the screen itself, and they're quite well positioned next to the thumbsticks, so you don't have to take your hand off the controller to actually operate them. The screen is, however, quite reflective. You can see compared to my Steam Deck, which does have that nano texture glass on it, that it is picking up a lot more reflections, but if you're just holding the PlayStation Portal in front of you and playing it around the house, that's not the biggest problem. And really important, if you are playing the PS Portal in bed, the brightness is going to dip down to really low level, and it's not going to disturb anybody who's sharing your bed with you. And my favourite feature of all is that you can put the Portal to sleep, at least briefly, come back to it a few minutes later and pick up straight away where you left it, which is not always guaranteed with a lot of the other remote play systems. When it comes down to it, this is the huge advantage of using the PlayStation Portal. The gaming experience is as seamless as you could possibly get with a remote play device. You definitely do need good Wi-Fi, and I've got my PlayStation plugged into my router with an Ethernet cable, but the UK is not blessed with brilliant Wi-Fi speeds, and I've definitely noticed that playing at certain times of the day gets a much smoother experience than others. It's definitely going to be impacted by peak hours, and if you are downloading anything using the PlayStation 5 like an update, that's going to slow down remote play as well, and cause some jittering from time to time and a few strange artifacts on the screen. But all in all, I've been able to get through 3 or 4 hours of Spider-Man 2 in an absolutely beautiful experience. And just being able to lean back and watch those cinematic cutscenes unravel in bed, honestly, it feels like such an amazing experience. The input lag is there, but negligible, and you could even get through some busy fight scenes on Spider-Man 2 without much problems. And from booting up the PlayStation, sometimes within seconds, diving into these games and having a wonderful experience, it really has exceeded my expectations for what this device could do. The big question is, if you already own one of those other devices that can support remote play, is the PlayStation Portal going to be worth it? The main comparison that people are going to make will be with the Backbone 1 controller, which even comes with a PlayStation aesthetic and plugs directly into your phone to give you access to everything from Apple Arcade or Google Play Store games to Game Pass Ultimate and of course remote play. All of that for half the price of the PlayStation Portal. About £100 here in the UK. Now, I wasn't 100% convinced by the Backbone 1 when I tested it out for this channel. It didn't feel anywhere near as comfortable to use as the PlayStation Portal. I can understand the appeal of slinging it in your bag and using it with your phone whenever you have a spare minute to play some games. But I always feel like I need my phone to be responsive, especially as someone who has a young child, and I don't really want to run down the battery of my phone unnecessarily either. Now, if you've got an iPad laying around, then you can simply connect your DualSense controller to that and play games on a much bigger screen. But you have to remember it is only going to output in 720p, and on a bigger screen you might notice that. And also there is a lot more input lag, which is going to give you a diminished experience. The main issue though with the iPad is that you've got to put it somewhere. Most people aren't going to want to balance it on their knee, so you're going to have it on your bedside table or somewhere around the house. And if you do have kids, you know, it's just a prime target for them to go and snatch off and put on Bluey before you even know it. Really, the biggest crossover is going to come with something like a Steam Deck, which comes in that compact handheld gaming format and bizarrely gives you access to even more PlayStation titles from the past, including the PSP and the PS Vita if you want to get into emulation. Now, I'm a big fan of the Steam Deck and I even put on a white D-brand skin to make it feel more like the PlayStation when I was playing remote play. But getting remote play up and running on the Steam Deck is going to be a lot more fiddly. You'll have to run around in the desktop mode to get an app called Chiaki up and running, and even then you'll have to hunt for some custom controller profiles to make sure you can even use the PlayStation button and the touchpad as expected, which is actually pretty problematic in some games like Spider-Man 2. The Steam Deck also runs at 720p and is a lot more glitchy in my experience than the PlayStation Portal, even though I've only had it for a couple of days and that may well change. The difference in quality between the PS Portal and the Steam Deck is definitely there. Yes, it does only give you access to remote play, but if the PlayStation 5 is your only console, then that doesn't really matter. For those people who just want to enjoy or even get a chance to use their PlayStation 5, then the PlayStation Portal is a surprisingly impressive little device. If you do want a slightly broader gaming experience, then it's worth checking out the Steam Deck, and I made a review of it right here, so go and watch that one next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.